queen of the Board Game Geek podcast, where we geek out about board games, the mechanisms behind them, and the people who create them. I'm your host, Candice Harris, and I'm here today with the Podfather of Gaming himself, Mr. Stephen Buonocore, who you might know as the retired founder, owner, and president of Stronghold Games. How's it going today, Stephen?
It is going great, Candice. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I've been following the podcast, and I was like, I got to get myself on this podcast. Your energy is so infectious.
I mean,
your smile is wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Great. It's great.
Thank you. No, it's same thing. I love talking to you. I love playing games with you. I love hanging out with you. You have a very similar level of energy, and I think that's why we kind of gravitate towards each other. But
thank you.
Yeah, but now that you're retired, I'm assuming you're just like hanging out and playing board games all day. But what are you up to these days, and how can people find you?
I'm hanging out and playing board games all day. No, actually, sometimes, sure. But, I've actually revolved the retirement years around board gaming quite a bit. Like I organize board gaming cruises, like I go to all the conventions.
Cool.
And as I have been, even during Stronghold Games for the past 8 years and more, I have a podcast called Board Games Insider with Ignacy Chevicek, the president of Portal Games. And now we've brought on a third chair, Corey Thompson, who does Dice Tower News.
I love Corey.
He's amazing. The guy is absolutely astonishing. And the three of us, we call it Board Games Insider for a reason. So we look at the inside of the industry. We don't talk about like any individual game coming out, but we'll take the news of what's happening in the industry, report on it, and then comment on it.
Cool.
Give us the insider's perspective, the publisher's perspective on what's happening between companies, what acquisitions are going on, what kind of earnings are being reported all over hobby gaming, and even the bigger mass market as well. So I bring to bear both the publisher hat there as well as my financial hat that I had for many, many years before I was a board gamer or publisher in the industry. So you can find me wherever you like to get your podcasts, Board Games Insider.
Cool.
You can catch me on YouTube, the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel, where we post the video of the podcast. We'll sit there and we'll actually do it live, and we'll post it up there. And I post other things on my YouTube channel.
Cool.
Facebook, very active group, the Podfather of Gaming group. It's almost like a support group for gamers. We just hang out and we post funny memes and we talk about our lives. It's just good. And of course, games. And of course, you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Podfather Gaming. So there you have it.
Awesome. Sounds like you're just as busy as when you weren't retired.
I think I might be. I've called myself the busiest retired guy around, and I really enjoy it.
That is awesome.
It's all fun things is what I try to do.
For sure. And the Board Games Insider sounds really, really interesting, and I'm going to have to check that out because I don't think I even knew about that. So.
Oh my.
Well, Stephen and I just recently returned from a private gaming event where we played a ton of games. So today we're going to have an extended Fresh Plays episode and discuss some of the most memorable games we played there. Sadly, we never got the chance to play anything together, and we had plans, grand plans for me to come in fresh in the morning off my red eye from LA and play a War of the Ring game together. We were gonna do it, but then I was like, the day before, I'm like, I probably should sleep when I get there, so I'm not starting on the wrong track. Even though, starting with War of the Ring with you would have been starting on the right track. So yes. I don't know.
And anybody who's ever heard me speak on podcasts, and I've been on a million of them, everybody knows War of the Ring is my number one game. I know you love the game as well.
Yes.
Is it your number one game as well?
It's not my number one. I'm one of those people who I can't really choose a number one.
Understood.
I would probably have to have a grouping of several games as my number one. But I do really, really love it, and I don't play it enough. So we'll make it happen next time.
we're absolutely going to make it happen. Sadly, there wasn't even a copy there to be had. Normally, there's like a couple of copies, but nobody had a copy. So even if we wanted to play, we would have had to go like get it from Amazon and ship it in. So we didn't get a chance to play War of the Ring. So we didn't get a chance to play anything, which is really sad. But it's so sometimes it gets so crazy at these events.
It's like that. Yeah.
But it was a really fun event for everybody. That's for sure.
Totally. But before we start talking about some of the games that we've been playing recently, we have some exciting news to share.
We have an announcement, Candice.
We do.
Candice, should we have invited like the family here for this announcement?
Yeah, well, my mom listens to every episode, so there is some family out there listening. But yes.
Candice, will you be my video podcasting partner?
I will, Stephen. I will.
So what Candice and I are announcing right now is a new show on Board Game Geek called The Quad. The Quad is going to be a monthly show starting this Wednesday, right after you hear this, I believe, Wednesday, May 3rd. It's going to be hosted by Candice and myself, with a rotating, diverse cast of miscreants throughout the industry, content creators, designers, anyone we can grab in and hijack to do discussions. Candice, what are we going to be talking about every month on the Quad?
So the premise is we pick a topic, and then all 4 people who are going to be on the episode are going to pick a game that best represents the topic. And then we'll politely or not argue about why our example is the best in the category or topic that we pick. So the first episode is going to be about trick-taking games. The second episode is going to be about games from public domain IPs. And we're not going to tell you about what else is coming next, but we have a bunch of exciting stuff lined up. So you'll be able to check this out on the Board Game Geek YouTube channel. Of course, we'll also front page it on BGG so everybody can know when it kicks off. But check it out. Check it out. And we look forward to comments about...
I am so excited. Yeah. I'm sorry I cut you off a little there, but I am so excited to be doing this with you. Because everything I said right at the top there, your energy is amazing. We have a very similar style and personality.
But we disagree on games.
Oh, and we disagree.
Except War of the Ring. Except War of the Ring.
And we disagree. Yeah. And we brought on some, great people to start the first couple of episodes. We have Matthew McCack on for the first 2 episodes. We had Beth Hiley on once. We have Benita Core. So it's going to be an amazing group of people that we're going to bring on, and we're going to have fun discussing games that represent these topics. But maybe whose game is better? Mine, of course.
It's definitely going to be
but
mine.
We'll see.
It's definitely going to be mine.
Going to be a lot of fun. It has been a lot of fun starting up with these, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, for the audience as well.
Nothing else, it's fun for us to record and debate these games. But yes, yeah. So
absolutely.
We would love it if you would check out the Quad. So let's jump into fresh plays.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, Steven, I want to hear what your first game is, but real quick, I just want to throw in one quick shout out that I finally played Senators, which back on episode 7 with Cole Worley, it was one of the games he mentioned as one of his favorite hidden gem board games. And let me tell you, it was one of the only games I think that was still in print that I could actually get easily on his list, and I picked it up immediately. So I finally got a chance to play it, and woo, it is a wild auction game. There are some crazy events, some nasty stuff that happens, and I loved it. And just to kind of give you an example, every turn there's an event card that you'll reveal, and the events will be something crazy like, okay, you're going to do a blind bid. And so, we played a 5-player game, do a blind bid. And if the sum of the amount when you reveal everybody's bid is 15 or higher, then whoever bid the most is going to get a point, which is a senator in the game. But if the sum of all the money is less than 15, the person who paid the least is going to lose one. So it's like crazy because you're like, well, how much is Steven going to put in? How hard should I go? Like we had one of these wacky blind bids where somebody put in $8 and everybody else put in 0. So it's, yeah.
Oh,
it is a crazy game, but I like it. And it definitely, the auction part of it reminded me of the estates a little bit too, which I love. Not everybody loves. But anyway, so I just wanted a quick mention that I finally played Senators and I loved it. So thank you, Cole, for the recommendation.
Awesome.
Steven, what is the first game you want to talk about?
So the first game that I'm going to talk about from the gaming event that we just got back from only a few days ago is a game that was introduced to me fairly recently. And it's a war game, sort of, but it is. It's called Quartermaster General World War II, 2nd edition. Released in 2020, designer Ian Brody, published by Ares Games and others, plays 2 to 6 players, and it plays in 1 to 2 hours. People have called Quartermaster General World War II the party game.
Wow.
Meaning, which is really weird, hey, I'm going to play Germany and I'm going to try to roll through Europe, and it's a party. But a game is absolutely an amazing experience when you play with 6 players.
Ooh.
Each player is going to play a different faction, 3 Axis players, 3 allied players. So it's a team game, and you're trying to score victory points in the end, and you score victory points based on the supply centers that you control over the course of the game. You deploy army units. It's all card driven.
Cool.
So your turn is simple. You play a card from your hand. I believe it's a 7-card hand. You play a card. You do the whatever it says. Deploy a new army or a navy. You attack, and then you redraw your hand. It's very, very simple mechanics. There are event cards and things like that as well in the game. But the game, it just shines because of the simple mechanics and the fact that it plays smoothly as all heck with 6 players. Now, I happen to be on the Allies side this time, and we got trounced in about 10 turns. So the game was relatively short. But it's just amazing. It's one of those games where, you play it, you see its simplicity in its genre, right? Because wargaming is usually this hard thing, like War of the Ring. We just talked about it is essentially a card-driven war game,
right? With
48 pages of rules. It's involved.
Takes 4 hours to play.
Yeah, I mean, even if you know War of the Ring cold and you play it fast, it's a 3-hour game. 4 if you're just thinking a little bit. This game is an hour, 2 hours tops, and you just smoothly roll through Europe or protect Europe or bomb Pearl Harbor. I mean, this is war. It's serious, but it's simple, fun for 6, people who just want to trash talk around the table and stuff like that.
Beer and pretzels game.
It's like a little bit heavier than beer and pretzels, but it's definitely simple mechanic. I don't own this game, but I absolutely have to put this game into my collection for anytime you get 6 players together to get together and just play this thing over having some beer and pizza. Let's call it that one.
Beer and pizza game.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really glad you brought this game up because up until about, I guess it was last October, it wasn't really on my radar either. But I went to GMT has a warehouse weekend. I went to their fall warehouse weekend. I ended up playing a game with someone. I forget his name. Sorry. But I asked him, I'm always curious to know, what are people's favorite games, especially if they like similar games to me or we're playing something, we both liked it. And this guy I met there said, he's like Quartermaster General is his favorite. And I was like, huh. And he was kind of telling me about it a bit. And after that, I went back. I think that, and also the fact that Ian Brody is the same person who designed War of the Ring, the card game. So all these little signals started going off in my brain. So I actually picked up Quartermaster General World War One, the newest edition of that. And I think I couldn't get World War II, the second edition, at the time, but I did already pick up an expansion for it. So I haven't played it yet, but yeah, I heard these games are great team games, and you want to try to play them at max player count, and that's usually the most exciting. But yeah, that it's smooth and fast, and I'm all about it. So I'm gonna have to try this soon. I have to bump it up on my my queue of games to play. So that's Quartermaster General World War II.
What's your first game, Candice?
So my first game is a game that I've owned for maybe like 3 years now, and I hadn't played it. And I love going to conventions and gaming events where I can play, or I can have someone teach me a game that I own that I still haven't played. That's one of my favorite things. So I played Shakespeare, and Shakespeare is a 2015 release designed by Hervé Riegel, and is it Ystari Games?
Ystari?
Yeah.
Ystari?
Ystari. But it plays with 1 to 4 players. This is a game that is all about the theater. And I want to say the brothers Murph are what originally made me pick this up whenever I did 3 years ago. Very early on in, as I was kind of getting into modern board games, I remember getting this, and it just, I've never gotten a chance to play it, but Mike and Nick have always, I used to watch their top 10 videos to kind of discover games, and I just remember hearing them talk about Shakespeare, and I'm like, I gotta get this game. Got the game, never got to play it. But anyway, in the game, the object of the game is to get the most victory points, and this is one of those really tight victory point scoring games. Scores are averaging about 20 points by the end of the game. So every single point matters. But we're basically theater managers, and we have to recruit actors and different workers such as craftsmen and jewelers to basically help assemble everything we need to put on a performance at the end of the week. So you play 6 rounds, which is representing 6 days. On the 4th day, there's a dress rehearsal. There's some special scoring of these tracks. And then at the end, that's the main performance. And every round, like, one of the things that I found very interesting about this game is that every round you have these like chunky discs, which are kind of like your little like workers, I guess. Yeah, it's like a sort of a worker placement game where you place workers in your own area only. But you have 5 of them, and everybody's going to secretly bid how many actions they want to take for the round. Now, the player, after you reveal your hand, the player who played the least amount of discs is going to get to go first. And there's like a tiebreaker. So if you and I both played 3 and everybody else did 4 and 5 or whatever, you know, there's a track where there's an initiative order. So, but whoever ends up being first for the round gets a victory point. Oh. And not only a victory point, which is so important in this game, but you also get first dibs on like all of, you know, the couple of actions you can take where you're going to be trying to compete for like decorations for your stage. Like they have these curtains and they're only like a limited amount in different types, you know. Maybe there's only one green curtain out there and I really need a green curtain. I want to go first, so I make sure nobody takes that, you know? Same thing, they have like, I keep calling them decorations, but like part of you're dressing the actors. So you get these different like fabrics or whatever to dress your actors. And then there are also like other cards of characters, like actors and workers that you can hire. You also like will always want to get like one of those first. So turn order is extremely important. But whoever goes further behind in turn order is going to get more actions. So I just love that at the beginning of every round, like secretly deciding like how much do I want to go for this or do I not care? And I'm just going to put in 5 and take a bunch of actions, but I'll probably go last. You know, that was really, really cool. Then like the actions are really very simple. There's a lot of player interaction with like when you take purple curtains, for example. Every time you take purple curtains, the other players are going to lose an ambiance. So like there's a track where you're tracking your ambiance, and at the end of every round, if it's on the left side of the track, you're going to have some penalty. If it's on the right side, you'll get something cool.
Because obviously purple curtains are like regal, right? So your ambiance is better than their ambiance. I love it.
Exactly. So like, yeah, again, like the actions are very simple. Like you can teach this game in like 5 to 10 minutes and then you're going. It only takes about 90 minutes to play. But here's the kicker. Every round you're recruiting an actor and they want to be paid at the end of the game. So you start the game with no money. So throughout the game, in addition to trying to get victory points, you are trying to get money so that you can pay your actors. Because at the end of the game, for every actor you can, or actor and worker you can't pay, you lose 2 points. So my score in the first game I played was 10 because I lost 6 points from not being able to pay my workers and actors. It was brutal. But anyways, this game is like really cool. I ended up playing it twice last week because I bumped into another friend who was like, I have this game and I haven't played it either. So I don't know if like Shakespeare is one of those games that a lot of people bought at some point and just have never tried. So I was happy to play it again and, you know, teach someone else so that they can now take it off their shelf and keep playing it. But yeah, that's Shakespeare. Have you ever played it, Stephen?
I have never played it. And I don't know if you noticed, because Candice and I can see each other while we're doing this. I've been taking notes, using the show notes and using what you said just now, because I'm like, this is like stage management. So like Paula, my girlfriend, did that professionally. And I'm like, I think she would love this.
Oh my goodness, she would love it.
We both love theater. We both love Shakespeare. So on your recommendation, you costing me money here. On your recommendation, I'm going, and the Brothers Murph. Yeah, I love those guys.
Yep.
I'm going out and getting Shakespeare, no doubt now, in my mind.
I will say, and this is the reason I brought it up first, is just to get this out of the way, that it is a little bit rare and harder to find.
But I gotta go now then, before anybody else gets it.
Let's just disconnect. Yeah, let's disconnect and. But and then there's also an expansion for it that is harder to get, I think, than the base game.
Money.
I know. So I'm keeping my eyes peeled for the expansion too. But
very cool.
Although I heard that like the tightness of the game it's like I think it's tighter with the base game. I forget exactly what the expansion adds. But anyways, that's Shakespeare. Yes, check it out. If you have it on your shelf and you still haven't played it, try it. Because I thought it was really cool.
I wish I had this on my shelf of shame now, but I will find it.
Shelf of opportunity. Shelf of opportunity.
Oh no, I like shaming myself. It's a thing. It's definitely a thing.
So what else? Right. What else did you get to play?
All right, yeah. So last week I got to play and teach a game from a small company. You might have heard Stronghold Games.
I never heard of them.
Founder, owner, president of Stronghold Games for quite a while. So I played AuZtralia, which was released by Stronghold in 2018. It's a Martin Wallace game, one of my favorite designers, good friend, love Martin. Plays 1 to 4 players and plays in 30 to 120 minutes. And that 30 is a reason because you can lose this game without a doubt quickly. So in AuZtralia, I'm emphasizing the Z, not Australia. It has most of the games that I'm going to talk about today are very thematic games. I love theme in a game. To me, It's the first thing that's going to drag me to a game. Even if I'm not sure about the mechanics, I like theme. And then you just said Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Oh, stage management. I'm going to go there. I'm going to see it. Going to check it out. AuZtralia. Martin takes the theme that he developed and established in his previous game, A Study in Emerald, where it was late 1800 England, and Sherlock Holmes and others go against the old ones, Cthulhu and friends, as I like to call them, and put them down in the game. That's the theme of that game. And after that happens, when you beat down Cthulhu and friends, all of a sudden, Cthulhu, now we get to the AuZtralia theme. Cthulhu and friends were suppressing humanity. They wouldn't let them explore things. So all of a sudden, humanity's going out and starting to explore the rest of the world that they didn't know. They find Antarctica that they never knew about. It's a frozen wasteland still. They find AuZtralia. And guess what's happening on AuZtralia? The Cthulhu and the Shoggoths and the zombies, that's the Z.
Bad stuff.
All this bad stuff. They went there. They weren't defeated completely. They went there, and now you've got to defeat them on AuZtralia. It's a game, as I mentioned, 1 to 4 players, but really, there's a 5th player in the game. If you play with 4, there's a 5th player, and that's the old ones, because they can win this game. This game is just genius. And I'm not saying, you could say, well, I'm biased, I published it, but it really is, because Martin took some of the most interesting mechanics and mashed them together. So it's, when I played it, I said, well, this is a route building, so you're going to be playing Ticket to Ride. And I said, no, it's a joke. But there's a little bit of route building. There's a little bit of resource management. There's a little bit of action selection on a set number of actions that you have on your player board. There's a little bit of military building where you have to build up units of a military. And then sort of the main thing is to go out against the old ones, because they're waking up, and they wake up in a specific manner every time that they go.
Yeah.
As I said, they're a player. They go. Every time you go, they're going to go. So they wake up, one of them wake up, and they start to come toward you and attack your stuff. Bad stuff happens. They come and they attack your farms and blight them. They obviously you will attack them, and you'll have to go after them with your military units. And if they march themselves down to one of the players' ports, the actual players, one of, say, the 4 players that you're playing against, one of those players, their port gets destroyed, game over, do final scoring. And probably they're going to win at that point, because they might have done it early in the game. And that's why it could be as much as a 30-minute game or about a 2-hour game. The players are not cooperating per se, but if one player says, screw it, I'm just going to do my thing, and I'm going to mine gold, and I'm going to get all this stuff and be very selfish, you're going to lose, because they're going to come down, they're going to destroy that player's port, go to scoring, and then Cthulhu scores, or the old ones score based on how many of them are still remaining on the board. The ones face up score the victory points that you would have gotten, and the ones face down score double the victory points. So if you lose quickly, if the game ends quickly, the players are losing. Another interesting mechanic, there's so many interesting mechanics. You start out in the beginning of the game, building your rail networks, and it's all based on time. So like we start off and I say, okay, I'm going to go and build the first piece of my rail network. It takes 2 time units. I move my little token up 2.
Yeah.
You go and you say, I'm going to go mine. It only costs 1. So you would go again before me. And if you took another 1 time unit, you'd go again to then go ahead of me. First, the player who's in the back and then on top of the player on the track would take the next thing. Cthulhu and friends don't go until time unit 22. So you got some time to build up and get your rail networks going and mine your resources so you can build some units. And all of a sudden, every turn now, every one of the players is going to go, and the old ones are going to go. And they're all going to go. So if there's 5 of them showing face up on the board, they're all going to move toward you. They're all going to destroy things. I love this game. I've kind of rediscovered it now because somebody asked me to teach them the game at the gathering. I played it twice. Cool. Paula and I got our heads handed to us on the first play. We're like, this game's impossible. I can't win this game. We played it again. Like, that's what you do.
Yeah.
It's like that surprising moment. Like, oh, Martin, you bad man, Martin Wallace. He's so smart. That's how you win this game. and then we beat it handily on the second game. And then there's ways to ratchet it up and all that, but played it once, taught the game, had a great time, the great experience with the people we played with. They loved it. They're keeping it. They had it on their shelf of shame. They're keeping the game because they liked it so much. In fact, they played it again that weekend. So have you played?
I have. That's why I'm like smiling at you this entire time. So about 2 months ago, I got AuZtralia a while ago also, probably after Shakespeare though. But I got it a while ago, and then when it went on Kickstarter for like the big box and the expansion, I was like, I know I haven't played this game, but I know I'm going to like it, so I'm just going to go and, invest in the big box with the expansion and everything. So finally, about a month or two ago, I'm losing track of time, I finally played it, and I also loved it. I actually talked about it on the podcast a little bit too. But yeah, I really liked it. It's definitely a unique game, and yeah, I don't know. I love that mix of like, yeah, you're route building, you're doing resource management, but then you're also dealing with Cthulhu stuff, and it just feels different. Like you have to kind of build your armies, and it's really well done, and it's different. So I'm a fan too.
It's such a different game, and that's what really makes me feel happy, right? There's a lot of games where you take red cubes, you turn them into blue cubes, you deliver, you get some points. Let's face it. There's a lot of this
trading in the Mediterranean.
Trading in the Mediterranean. There's a lot of sameness in Eurogaming. That's just an axiom of the way hobby gaming works. There's nothing like AuZtralia. So if you want to try something different, I'm not saying it's an insta-buy for anybody out there, because maybe you don't like it. I think there's a game for everybody, and not everybody's going to like every game. Just check it out. Get somebody who knows how to play it to teach you the game, and I think you're going to like AuZtralia by Martin Wallace. That is one of my favorite games right now.
Awesome. So I got the chance to play 7 Prophecies, which is a trick-taking game. James Nathan was, I saw him, and he always has these really awesome trick-taking games, and he kind of flagged me down. I was like, let's play some games. And this was the first one he showed me, and it's a game from 2017 designed by Hinata Origuchi, and it's published by Bluete Spiel, but there's a new edition coming from New Mill Industries, which I think is April 2024. We might see that. But anyway, if this sounds interesting, you can keep an eye out for it. I don't know. It's probably hard to get this game right now, but it's a trick-taking game. You play with 3 to 4 players, and it's a betting trick-taking game. So at the start of each round, you're going to put out, I forget, maybe 10 different cards, and I forget exactly how many suits, but maybe there are 4 or 5 colors, and you will put out 10 cards in a row at the top, and then going down on the left side, you'll put out a first place card, a second place card, a third place card, and a fourth place card. And basically the cards that are on the top, the color is going to be the lead color, the lead suit for each trick. So maybe the first card's purple. It doesn't matter what the number is. Maybe the next one's a blue one, red, whatever. So the first trick is going to be we have to follow and play purple if we have purple. But before you actually start the round, you get your hand of cards. You have these cubes where you're going to be betting. You're going to be betting how many tricks you think you're going to take first in, second in, third in, fourth. So you're putting on the cards your cubes like, oh, maybe I think I got a good hand. Maybe I think I'm going to win 5 out of these 10 tricks first. I'm just going to like crush everybody. So then I would put 5 of my cubes on the first card. And then maybe I don't think I'm going to, maybe I'll lose 1. I put 1 of my cubes on the fourth place card. And so everybody's doing this kind of simultaneously. You're looking at your hand of cards. You're betting on, which rank you think you're going to get and how many times. And then you actually play the tricks. So if the first one was purple, I would play maybe I had the highest purple card. I play the highest purple card. I know I'm going to win. Everybody else plays a purple card. So anybody who was able to, like, basically if they have a cube on the rank they ended up, they'll be able to put that cube on the card and clear it off of the actual like rank number card. And so as you play tricks, you're trying to clear off your cubes from the rank, meaning you're hitting your bid that you set at the beginning of the round. And usually the first person to do that is going to trigger the end, like as soon as one person's out of cubes on the rank card. And depending on how early that happens, you get more points. But if it happens later, you get less points. I don't remember all the specifics, but I found it to be like really, really interesting. Yeah, I just like, I've never played a trick-taking game like that before. Have you ever heard of Seven Prophecies?
I've never heard of Seven Prophecies. What if you win too many? If you bid 3 and you win 5 tricks, is that bad?
Well, so basically, yes, because now you're taking tricks where you're not able to pull a cube off. So if other players are hitting their bids, you're trying to get your cubes off these rank cards. So if you bid that you were going to win first on just 3, and then you end up taking that 4th one, you don't get to take a cube off. So other people might be getting ahead of you. So yeah, you're trying to, but you don't know what kind of like shenanigans other people are going to pull. It's a must follow game, but you don't know. Sometimes somebody's not going to be able to follow because they're out of that color. So then all of a sudden the rankings, like maybe you thought you had a low purple, but other people don't have any purple. So now all of a sudden you're taking second place unexpectedly. And it kind of like will mess with your rhythm. So yeah, it's a wacky little game.
Candice, this game, trick taking, as you mentioned, which we cover, as you mentioned, in episode 1 of the Quad, sounds like the game that I brought up in that episode that I'm not sure you like, but it sounds. We're not going to go into it now because we have time constraints here. But on the Quad, you got to listen to us talk about trick taking games, and you're going to hear me talk about one game that sounds like this one.
And you'll hear me talk about a better one. But anyways, that game is Seven Prophecies. Like I said, it'll be New Mill Industries is going to publish a new edition of it in, I believe, April of 2024, if I read Eric's news correctly a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was a couple months ago. I don't know, but it's a cool little trick-taking game. Seven Prophecies.
Very cool. My next game is like one of the latest hotnesses that you see everybody talking about right now. Literally just released. It is Earth, released 2023, designed by Maxim Tardif, published by Inside Up Games. Shout out to my buddy Connor McGooey, who is the president of Inside Up Games. Player count is 1 to 5 and plays 45 to 90 minutes. In Earth, you are trying to make the Earth more beautiful. You are taking care of the land. You are planting items in a tableau that you create right in front of you, right next to your player board. I believe it's 4x4 or 5x5. I forgot what it is. And the adjacencies of the things next to you and the actions you can trigger via the things you place into your tableau, your planting area, is what will trigger multiple actions every time one of the 4 main actions are taken. Everybody, players will take turns taking one of these 4 actions. They get the better one when they take the action. You get like the secondary action. And then all of that triggers other actions that have already been played by the cards in your tableau. I play with my buddy Alex Schmidt from Stonemaier Games. He's head of sales at Stonemaier Games. Stonemaier publishes Wingspan. And he said, Steven, this game is, when he was explaining it, this is sort of like Wingspan and Terraforming Mars had a baby. And in a lot of ways, you can see kind of these things that are in there. But the baby is much bigger than either of those games, in my opinion. Maybe too big, sort of, for my kind of taste. No, it's not a heavy game by any stretch of the imagination. But you do have to memorize, or I needed a cheat sheet of the 30 or more icons in the game. There's a lot of little details. And really, the game is multiplayer solitaire. There's really very, very little interaction between the players. I mean, your interaction is, of course, they select this. Well, you're going to do it at a lesser level. I select this. You're going to do that action at a lesser level. But we're creating, most of our victory points are going to come, or a lot of them come to the tableau that we're building completely independently. And then there's a race to do certain things that are the victory points in a shared area in the center, like first person to have the most, I don't know, red cards or something like that in the tableau, things like that, or whatever, or you have the 9 or something. This game is going to sell a ton, and Inside Up Games, this is their Terraforming Mars. This is going to be a really big game for them, and I'm really happy for them. I don't know that it's my style. I really like Wingspan a lot. It's simple. It's smooth. I feel like I have a glass of wine and I relax, and I play with the birds, and it's really good.
Wine and
Terraforming Mars to me is not a heavy game once you know it. Terraforming Mars to me is pretty easy. I mean, a lot of options on your cards, but select a card, play the card. It really is kind of easy to get into that zen once you play those games. This one's it's a lot. It's much deeper. I think this game is going to be very big. A lot of people are going to be gravitating toward this game that has so many options that you can take. I'm just going to say this is not a game that I would gravitate toward, but I think it is an excellent game for people who want to have lots and lots and lots of options and score points in a million ways at the end of the game. I liked it, just not going to be one of my favorites, not going to replace something on my shelf. Have you played Earth, Candice?
I have, and I 100% agree with you. I share your feelings. So I've played it once about a couple weeks ago, and I walked away kind of lukewarm on it, and I felt like this is a great design. You know, if this was design. Like, if I only had 5 games and this is one of them, cool, I'll have a blast with it. Yeah, it's very well designed, but for me, it didn't really excite me. I think if I'm going to introduce someone to a game this weight, or I would probably pick Wingspan for sure, and or Terraforming Mars, you know, if it's somewhere in the middle complexity wise. But yeah, I'm, you know, I don't understand a little bit why some people are so excited about it. Is especially there's some people who maybe heavy games like me. Again, I think there's definitely an audience for this game, and there are going to be people that love it. But yeah, it was a little too multiplayer solitaire. I didn't as the game builds and you have all these cards, it's sometimes you're waiting a while for other people to activate maybe they have 12 cards and you only have 1. So you're kind of sitting around waiting. And then there's a momentum thing where, you know, okay, active player announces what they're doing. And then you have to, again, wait. Did everybody do that? Can we move on? You know? So it didn't really resonate with me personally, but I also could recognize that it's a very good game, and you know, very well designed, and I think there is definitely going to be an audience for it. But personally, I I would put Wingspan in front of somebody before I did this. I think the theme will appeal to some people. I think the cards look a little like Arc Nova cards, so I think there's some buzz because of that, because people just love Arc Nova. But
their photo, you know, all of the cards have photos on them, photos of actual plants that are kind of in the public domain. But it looks great. I mean, it makes a nice presence.
I like the trees.
I think this design is genius. I think it's an absolute genius design. It just doesn't strike the chords that I want, I think, in this kind of game. But I think the people that love this game really love it, and I get it. Yeah. And I absolutely get it. And I think it's going to sell a lot. I think it's going to be around for a long time. And it's going to be compared, I think, in the end with Arc Nova, with Terraforming Mars, and to maybe a lesser degree to Wingspan, because Wingspan is just much easier to kind of wrap your head around. And just, boom, play, first time, easy. Let's do this again. We just do it again. So I enjoyed it. Just not going to be my go-to kind of thing.
And I 100% agree with you.
And we normally don't agree this much.
I know.
Candice.
This is wild. I cannot believe this. So Earth is where we align our thoughts on Earth.
There you go.
So I also I got to play a new secret game. I don't know. I'm sworn to secrecy not to say the title of it, but there is a new game coming out at Essen or Spiel 2023, Board&Dice, and it is designed by David Turczi and Simone Luciani. And this game was very cool. Like I walked by at some point and saw people playing, and I was like, "Oh, what is that? What is that game?" You know? And then I was like, "Oh, I have to check it out." You know, it's basically a root building game that shares some DNA with like brass and like Imperial Steam. It's got some Barrage vibes to it. It has a little Concordia thing because basically on your turn, you're going to place an action tile. Either you're going to place one above your board and like take the action that's on the tile, or you're going to take one of your action tiles and put it face down on the board as a route, as a piece of track. And it has like loose track placement rules. Like you don't have to connect from where you already had track. So you can really build anywhere, which I kind of liked because you have a lot of flexibility to kind of do whatever you want a little bit and you're not like very restricted. But then there's some synergies where like each of the action tiles will have a color on the end. And if you match up the color with another one and you close a link, you get to like do a bonus action. You could potentially do that with another player, or you could do it yourself and you would get to take 2 bonus actions. So there's like some of that going on. And the Concordia thing is that like any of the action tiles you place above your board, eventually you're going to need to retrieve those. Also, you're able to buy new action tiles. So they have like, you know, it's not a deck of cards, but it's like these little tiles. So you can take a retrieve turn. I forget what it's called, but when you retrieve all of your action tiles, you're going to also do some scoring, which this part reminded me of Great Western Trail a little bit. Like you are doing different things you're placing buildings out on the board and you're trying to power them, flip them over. And then usually when you do that, you get some treat and you get these little stars. And there are other things in the game that give you little stars. And every time you go to do a retrieve action and get your action tiles back, you're going to cash in your stars. And, you know, maybe I had 15 stars. I'm going to put one of my discs on 15. Now on this track. So this track has bands of like different ranges and like they're divided by colors also. But each band can only have one of your discs. So let's say on the first turn, I was able to get to 15 and I'm in the third band. And then the next time I'm only able to get to 16 stars. Well, I already placed in that band. So now I need to place in a band below. And there's also one that's like a freebie one. So it's kind of like the train, rail track when you're going to deliver and you're putting one of your discs in Great Western Trail. So that kind of made me think of that. But I don't remember all of the details, and I can't say too much because I wasn't able to take any photos or videos. And I played this early on in the week, and all I know is I liked it a lot. It is kind of a beast. I think people who like heavy games like Brass and Barrage and Imperial Steam, by the way, which never gets enough love. Not enough people know about Imperial Steam. Check that one out too. But I think if you like any of those games, like this game might just be your jam. And it also seems like something a little different for Board&Dice, because I feel like there are a lot of like slightly similar themed games possibly coming from there. You know, like you have like all the T games, which are like maybe one you're doing Mayan temples, you're doing a different type of temple. You know, like there's definitely there's a realm of different types of themes that are very similar that they'll do, and they're usually pretty good games and everything. But this one is a little bit different, which also is appealing to me. So that is my number 3, a new secret board and dice game from David Turczi and Simone Luciani, which is going to be out in at Spiel 2023. I think the plan is for them to announce it after Gen Con or something. I don't know, but I'm definitely like looking forward to hearing more about it. And yeah, I think it's going to be, I think people are going to dig it.
Well, I did not, of course, play this secret David Turczi game. He doesn't like me. No, I'm kidding. I love David. Is such a fun guy.
Yeah, he is.
And I did not get a chance to play it. Well, I'm glad you like it, and I'll see him and you probably at Essence, so I'll hear about what it is and stuff like that.
I mean, are you like a fan of brass and games like that?
Those are heavy for me.
Yeah,
I'm not usually. I'm a fan of the design. I'm a fan of Martin.
Right.
But those are pretty thick games.
Yeah.
So I don't normally gravitate toward that. I played brass and it was my brain was exploding. So I mean on the surface I would say this is probably not something I'm gonna gravitate toward, but I want to check it out. I think David's stuff is amazing. I think he's an absolute genius designer.
And I mean, combined with Simone Luciani, who, co-designed like Marco Polo and Zolkin and Barrage, like, yeah. Anyway, it's cool stuff. It's cool stuff. Not going to be for everybody, but some people you'll love it.
Very good.
What's your next game, Steven?
My number 4 game is something that's come out a bunch of years ago. Not that long, but a bunch. It's Folklore, The Affliction. Released in 2017, designed by Nick Blaine and Ian Donovan. It was published by Greenbrier Games. Player count, 1 to 5. And I was taught by Julie Ahern, who used to, she was vice president over at Greenbrier Games. She's left since, but she did a lot of editing on this game. She did a lot of scenario creation on this game, and she's a wonderful friend of mine. Cool. Who's in my role-playing group. We play online every 2 weeks. Shout out to the Party of Insanity, my role-playing group nice. In the D&D 5e world. So, like I said, Julie taught it, and she did a brilliant job teaching us this cooperative storytelling game. And that's the best way, a cooperative storytelling game where you are kind of directed due to each one of the scenarios that you play to solve certain challenges in the story on various parts of the board. So you go out as a party and you are going to be exploring different places and things are going to happen to you. You're going to encounter people and things, have combats with them. Got cool miniatures that are part of the game.
Cool.
The people are going to direct the story that are part of the adventure that you have, because there's many adventures that you can go on in the game. Ours was specifically one that she wrote back in the day where we had a choice to start with of like, do you want to go investigate this forest? There's something going on there, or you want to go rescue the children that have been lost over in this area. And I was like, heck with the children. Let's go investigate this. Everyone's like, no, we're gonna go with the children. I'm like, all right, fine. I was playing a mean guy for that. And I love games where I can be a ham and I can role play it up a little bit too.
Yeah.
So my guy was kind of like an Indiana Jones style character. So, there's going to be some artifacts over there. I want to go over there.
Nice.
So we go on our adventure together, and we go there to this area, and we encounter this a couple of combats. You're kind of leveling up your character too as you go along, getting new items and things like that. And if you play it over time under multiple adventures, you literally will keep the same character, continuing to level up your character and getting more and more good stuff. We had to go to one place. The children weren't there. We had to go to another place. We fought this humongous, let's call it an ent. It was this living tree that we ended up fighting. And she had everything that was ever done for this game. So she had the miniature that was about, and I'm showing you how big it is, but the audience can't see it. It was like 8 inches tall, this crazy miniature with huge arms, and it was kicking the crap out of us. We finally defeated it somehow.
That sounds awesome.
But for anybody who would like a light co-op character building storytelling game that you can play with your family too, because the mechanics are easy, the combat is easy. It's beautiful artwork and fantastic production. I highly recommend you check out Folklore, The Affliction by Greenbrier Games. Still in print and probably their biggest selling game. Have you ever seen the game or played it?
I don't think I've ever seen this. Like, this is not ringing any bells, but it sounds super interesting. So, I guess in the past year, I got the game Destinies, which is kind of that is not cooperative, but it's kind of a story-driven game like that, where it's almost more about the story than it is about like being a gamer game.
Yes.
But wow, this sounds like, as you're describing the characters and the setting, I'm gonna have to look it up, because and that giant tree miniature, what?
giant tree miniature.
That's awesome.
I think that's part of the extended like Kickstarter. You know, when you get everything, she brought a box that was, you know, with all the miniatures plus the game was bigger than like a Gloomhaven box. It was tremendous with the amount of stuff that they put into the game. You know, you don't have to get it all. You can just get the base game.
Yeah.
I think it comes with some, you know, just like some characters, stuff like that. Monsters will be chits instead. You know, the usual stuff. You want to upgrade your game, you pay a lot more. But had a lot of fun. Again, simple. So like family weight, adventure, storytelling is the main thing I can say about this game. Cool. And again, theme for me is everything. I want theme, and this was kind of cool. So Folklore, The Affliction.
Very nice, very nice. So I mentioned that I love going to conventions and finding people who are down to play games that I own and that I've never played, so that I can, you know, try it for the first time with a teach.
On the shelf of opportunity.
On the shelf of opportunity. One of those games is that I got to play with Stationfall. And Stationfall I backed on Kickstarter. And I went kind of all in and got the minis and the neoprene mat. And it has been kind of just sitting on my shelf of opportunity. Not that long. Not nearly as long as Shakespeare. But yeah, it's been out there. So it's designed by Matt Eklund, and it's from Ion Game Design. And Matt Eklund designed PAX Transhumanity, which is a really interesting, cool game that I've only played once, and I need to revisit that one too. Speaking of Matt Eklund, but yeah, Stationfall plays with 1 to 9 players.
And Candice sees what I just did. I like literally put exclamation points after that. You can play this game with 9 players.
Yeah,
this is so me at the moment. I mean, I love high player count games and finding good games that you can play with that many.
Which I don't know how it would play solo though, you know. But anyways, so I'm just gonna read what they like the description they have for what is Stationfall. Well, imagine a dozen or so random humans, robots, and none of the aboves, each with their own abilities, goals, and secret relationships, have been turned loose on a space station that is going to be incinerated upon its inevitable re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. You are one of these characters, and the others are collaborators you have on hand, ready to assist you in achieving your goals. But choose them wisely, as any one of them could secretly be another player waiting to betray you. So this game is really cool. There are people that have been describing it as a party game for heavy gamers, but basically, you have this huge board that's representing the station and some spaces that are outside of the station, and it has different rooms. And it almost reminds you of like Among Us, if you've ever played Among Us, where you're moving around and like doing stuff in different rooms. It's kind of got like that kind of feel to it. But you play with a lineup of characters. So I played a 5-player game, and I want to say we played with something like 14 characters. And out of the 14 characters that were in play, we each took on the role of one of them secretly, though, because this is a hidden roles game. And each of us had our own like ways that we can score victory points. So you're trying to, throughout the game, not let people know who you are, because if they figure out who you are, they're going to like prevent you from scoring victory points. So you're trying to like keep your role secret, but also you're trying to kind of figure out what other people's roles are so that you can then, make sure they're not scoring victory points. Because, at the end of the game, which is 15 rounds or 15 minutes, basically, and there's a way it can end, I don't know if it can end early, but I think it maybe can go one extra round or something. But ours ended up being just the straight up 15 rounds, which again represents 15 minutes. We're dropping. But the cool thing is you have all these characters, and on your turn, you can activate pretty much any of them. So, because you don't want people to know who you are. So, I could be activating a character. It might be your character. I might accidentally be helping you get closer to something you're trying to achieve. And usually, like when you activate a character, if there wasn't an activation disc on it, you'll be able to take 2 actions. And the actions are like pretty straightforward. Like you can move to a different room. You could pick up items. Like there are different like weapons and items you can pick up. You can drop stuff. You can attack other characters and kind of like knock them out. You can activate rooms that you're in. And some of the characters like might have a goal of like they want to escape the ship. So, but to do that, you need to have a helmet on because you can't just be out there and floating around. So you need to make sure you pick up a helmet and you get out. But you probably, if you have that goal, you probably want to time it carefully so that somebody doesn't like the minute you put that character out say, "Oh, I'm going to move this character in and do something else." Then like I was playing as security, and the main way I scored points was to have people knocked out. I think it's called down, that have a certain type of weapon. So if they had a certain type of weapon, I wanted them to be knocked out by the end of the game because I scored maybe 2 points per or something like that. And then, in addition to like these different rooms that you can activate to kind of do things, there's an area called Project X where there will be a card face down at the beginning of the game. And it's some kind of like mystery monster alien thing. But certain people can go and take a peek and see what that is. You can also unleash that monster, and then it has its own mini, and it starts moving around the board, and it's going to be targeting a certain character. Again, we don't know if it's a character that one of the players is playing or just one of the other characters. But it was so fun. I really, really like this game. I'm really glad that I backed it, and I really want to explore it more. Like from the start of the game, like after the excellent teach, there were 3 of us that were new players. 2 had played before, but every bit of just intrigue and mystery was just like, I don't know, it was giving me tingles. Like we didn't, know exactly how every rule worked in the game, but it was just so exciting and so fun. And I really liked it. Have you played Stationfall?
You've just caused me to spend more money, Candice. I've just written down another note, and I've written Stationfall 1 to 9 players, party game. Oh my God. Everything you said about this game, I love. So here's the funny thing. As you're saying, I'm like, I think somebody was telling me about this at the gaming event we just got back from. And I said, is that the game with the monkey and the spacesuit on the cover?
Yes, the characters are crazy.
As you were talking, I quietly tried to type, and I got on the geek, and I saw, so there's a monkey in a spacesuit kind of coming at you with the space station like blowing up in the background. Every word you just said about this game gets me excited. I'm serious.
Awesome.
I'm gonna play a game 1 to 9 players, and I have a different role and a different agenda, and I gotta make sure that I do it right and I can screw you up.
Yep.
Oh, I want this game. This is absolutely
awesome.
Is it awesome? Is it very rules dense though? I mean, it sounds like so much asymmetry. It would be hard to play.
Again, I have not read the rules yet, and that's like I need to do that because I want to like teach it myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just went in and had the teach, and the teach was so well done. Like you know, if
Why
you
didn't
think
find
about
me
it,
to play this
I know.
with you?
And it was funny because there were like in the same room, there were like 25 people about to play a game of werewolf. And this one guy was walking by our table and he was like, "Oh, like I've been wanting to play this guy Simon." And he was like, I think he was going to meet a friend to play werewolf. And then he saw this and we're like, we have room to, because like it works really well with 4, I hear. But I was like, 5 might be even better. And so he sat down and played, and we just had like the greatest group for it for my first game of it. And it was so fun. And actually, like a couple weeks ago, the same game day that I played Earth for the first time, I played this little filler game. I don't know if you ever heard of it. I think it was called like Rumble in the House or something like that. And it's this tiny box game. And, a couple of us had time to kill while we were waiting for another game to wrap up. And you have all these characters. Everybody gets a little two face down tokens. So you have 2 characters. But in a similar fashion, everyone on your turn, you can move whatever character you want. It's very simple. Like you move them into a room. If 2 of them are in a room, one of them can attack the other one and you just like knock them off the board. So it was funny because Stationfall reminded me of that game, but a little bit deeper. Yes, I think there are some rules that you would need to learn. But I think if someone knows the game, like if you're if someone knows the game, it could be just as smooth as what my first game experience was. It's like, you don't have to know all the ins and out of how every single character works. You can kind of discover that as you play and decide how you want to activate certain characters. All you need to know is like, look at how you score victory points. You also have this like minor character that you play. And I don't remember exactly how that worked, but I think you get other points if you're like your minor character, your side character stays alive or something like that. I don't know. Don't quote me on this. But like, so you basically get 2 cards at the beginning, 2 character cards, and one of them you choose as your like main character. The other one is something else. And yeah, so you don't need to know exactly how. Of course, if you're the teacher, you're probably going to want to know. So if you're ever if we're at BGG Con together or something like that, I already told Aldi that I would teach him. So
you gotta promise me,
yes,
you and I are playing this at BGG Con.
I promise.
Promise.
Yeah.
There it is. Everybody heard that.
Everybody heard it.
I have it recorded here too.
It's printed. But anyway, that is Stationfall. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to like playing that one more.
Again, I just tried to look for it to try to buy it. I didn't see it where I looked, so I'm this game insta buy. I'm buying this game.
Yep.
I don't care.
Yep.
I'm buying it.
Yep. Love it.
Sounds great. All right, my number 5 game, amazingly, was published in 1998. Though the edition that I played was obviously a new one, and I'll tell you about the production on it in a second. It's a small game. It's by an unknown publisher, essentially. The game is called Moonleap. And as I said, 1998 release, designed by Rudy Hoffman from Playte Games, Playte. It's a Korean company.
Wow.
Korean company.
Okay.
Plays 2 to 4 players and plays in 30 minutes. Absolutely. This is the definition of a beer and pretzels game. This game is so simple, so light, but so much fun. It has some cute little meaningful decisions. So, and the game box, as I kind of said, the production, it's one of those magnetic boxes that you kind of open up, like it kind of unfurls.
Gotcha.
And that becomes your game board.
Oh,
and
cool.
This company in Korea has done several of these games that do that. And then you use the box, the inside of the box, so to speak,
clever.
As the game board. Yeah. And it's kind of a really cool tactile kind of thing to open it up, put it there, and now we play the game. So in Moonleap, each player of the 4 has 5 astronauts. Each astronaut is numbered, has a number on it, 1 to 5. You start off the board. First player rolls a die. The die is a 6-sided die. It has number 1 to 5 and a star on it, which is wild. You simply move the astronaut with that number. I roll a 1, I take my number 1 astronaut, and I would literally put it on the board. Somebody else rolls a 3, they put it ahead of that one. So you're getting your astronauts onto the board based on the roll. But the interesting thing here is that when I roll something that is either off the board or on the board, I always move one space, but I leap over everybody who's in front of me until I find a space that I can land in. You like that bunny hop leap that the astronauts do on the moon. So
I love it.
You get this. That's what they used to call it, I think, even. I go to the Kennedy Space Center all the time, and they call it the bunny hop. So you have these like huge chains of astronauts in the spaces in front of you. So when you roll something and your guy is all the way in the back, you went, ooh, and you jump all the way in front of all of them, and you make that noise, ooh, and you go up in front of everybody. And it's a great moment. Now, here's one more thing that makes decisions interesting. First of all, when you roll a number, you can split it into two numbers for two different astronauts. So on the 3 or the 5, it could become a 1-2, or on the 5, it could become a 2-3, respectively, right? Gotcha. Even number, there's nothing to split. So the 3s and the 5s are special. And of course, the star makes you move one and only one of your astronauts. So you kind of start getting decisions like I could move, like if I roll a 5, getting your 5 onto the board is normal if you roll a 5, but moving the 5 isn't going to happen as much as moving the 1 or the 3 or the 2, because you're going to be, or the 4, that's a 1-3, because you're going to be using those in other ways. So you kind of have a decision. Do I move the 5? Do I move the 2 and the 3? And not every space that you move to will score victory points. The victory points are scored versus the number on your astronaut times the number printed on that space on the moon. The game ends when 3 astronauts from any players get up to the top 3 spaces, which have numbers like 20, 25, and 30 in them, something like that. So if you ended up getting your 5 all the way onto the 30, 150 points, you're going to win the game. But it's really hard to get the 5 way up there. Simple, silly, fun, cursing at people for jumping over your guys, or I just had a great time. I played it like 3 or 4 times at the event, and I never heard of the company. Certainly never heard of this game that's already 25 years old, but in this new production from Platy. And I assume you've never heard of Moonleap, have you?
No, never. I gotta look this up. It sounds fun. Like,
and the coolest thing is, so I played it with publishers that happen to be there. Both of them were like, oh, I got to go reach out to this company. I got to get
that's cool
distribution rights. So this game is probably going to come to the U.S. Whether you can find it now in Korea or maybe somebody's selling it here, but it sounds like someone's going to pick up this game. And it's, again, silly, simple, beer and pretzels, fun. I would highly recommend checking out Moonleap by Platy Games.
Awesome. I will, because, number one, I play with like a lot of different level gamers and family. And even just at the end of the night, sometimes you just want something a little light and silly to play. But that sounds really cool. I love the theme of it too. And that you're like, thematically, you're doing the astronaut leap over each other.
Yep.
That's
exactly.
Cool. So I ended up playing this new party game called Sides. Did you end up playing Sides at all?
I played Sides a few months ago, actually, at a different gaming event where I was taught by the designer of the game. So I do know about this one, but you go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So Sides is a 2023 release. I don't know exactly when and where you'll be able to get it, but it's
Essen.
At Essen. Okay, so it'll be an Essen Spiel 23 release by Cedric Camont and Francois Romain, and it's published by Captain Games. And Captain Games is a newer publishing company based in Belgium. It was founded by Cedric Camont, and who used to be a co-founder of Repost Production, who did like Time's Up, Seven Wonders, Just One, So Clover. So he knows party games. But this is a game for 2 to 9 players. And each round, basically there are 2 people. So picture this. You have maybe 8 people sitting in a circle. And this is a cooperative game. And each round, 2 people are going to be working together as like detectives to kind of find a mystery word. You have a couple cards on the table. Maybe there were like 5 or 6, and they are letter cards. Some of them will just have like a single letter. Some of them might have a combination of letters. But let's just say on the end, you have a B, and on the other end, you have an S. I don't know. But basically, similar, if you've ever played Just One, the people who are going to be the guessers, the 2 detectives, are going to pick a number and on a card. You know, we pull a card, they pick a number. Maybe they pick number 2, and it's a spaghetti. And so everybody else has to help them guess spaghetti, but they only have these like letters they can work with, and they have to say one word using one of the letters that's available to them. So, you know, so the people who are kind of going to be helping the detectives have to kind of work together, and you're like, okay, well, I have an S word, you know, that is 5 letters. It's pretty good. And then maybe somebody's like, oh, no, I have a really good B word. It's 4 letters. And without saying, you know, what the word is, they have to kind of decide who's going to give the first clue. And again, it's just one word, and it has to use the letters on the table. Then, you know, they give the clue. Maybe we'll just say bowl. I don't know. And then the 2 detectives have to then work together and come up with a guess of what the word could be. And what I like about it, because like some of this sounds sort of similar to Just One, but what I like about it is that you have a partner that you're guessing with, and each turn it shifts to the next 2 people. So throughout the game, you will be partnered with the person who's sitting on your right, and then on your next turn, you're going to be partnered with the person who's sitting on your left. And then the next turn, that person would be partnered with the person sitting on their left. And it kind of goes around. So you have different people that you're working with to kind of guess the clue. And I feel like even like Just One is awesome. I love Just One. And I find that everybody I introduce it to also loves it. But there's still some pressure on you as the person who's sitting there guessing by themselves, that sometimes people don't want that spotlight. They don't want to feel dumb or like they're going to make a mistake. So it's nice to have a partner that you can bounce ideas off of and discuss. And I just really liked that dynamic. And of course, again, my partner is going to change periodically. And it's a game where you can just jump in and jump out. Like I was about to go to sleep one night, and I was walking by and there was a group playing, and I just sat down and joined them, and I just sat in the circle. And when it came around to me, I partnered with whoever I was sitting next to, and then I was like, okay, I should go to bed, but then I ended up playing another game. Anyways, but I really liked it. I also like that you're restricted to using the letters that are on the table, and you can't just say any old word. You know, you have to use which makes you kind of think a little harder. So what are your thoughts on sides?
Oh, it's really, really a clever game. And I don't really compare it much to Just One at all, other than the way you select the first word. It definitely shines at higher player counts. Like I played it 2 players, and it's just not really good with 2 players.
I don't even know how that would work.
yeah. It just isn't. It's But when you play it with a lot of players, it really is fun. It's a party game. Right. It's a party game. So it's not two people on a party. It's just 2 people going out to dinner. It's a party game. You hang out and you play this game, and you're like you said, you're teaming up with people on your left and your right, and that gives you the extra brain power that it doesn't. Exactly what you said. Like, oh my gosh, you feel like you're on the spot. You can't come up with something. You got 2 people to bounce stuff off. It's perfect.
Right.
So, no, I think that Cedric and his new company, Captain Games, has something really cool here. And they're going to have a second game. It's like something of Civilization, and I can't remember what it is. And that's a thinky Euro game with a little war going on.
Interesting.
Really cool. I just can't remember it. But I think that the point here is check out Captain Games, a brand new company that's kind of going to premiere their first games in Essen this year. Sides is definitely going to be a kill it party game for this company.
Yeah, and Aldi loves it. Like he played it, so every time I turned around I saw Aldi was playing Sides. And it's really fun. I think he was the one, he's the one who originally introduced it to me. So that's Sides. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna just jump into my last game, because
I think that's a good idea, since it was my idea, because the last game is going to be something that's going to be relevant to other things.
Yeah. So the last game I'm going to mention is probably the game that got me most excited last week when I played it for the first time. And that game is Cerebria. I think it's Cerebria, the Inside World. Like there's a colon after it, but I don't think there's any other game called Cerebria, so it's not hard to find. But this is a 2018 game from Mind Clash Games, designed by Victor Peter and Richard Amon. It's 1 to 4 players, and it is basically, if you've ever seen the Disney movie Inside Out, we are 2 teams competing to control the emotions in a child's brain. And this is an objective-driven tactical area control game. So you're either going to be on Team Bliss or Team Gloom. And again, you're trying to manipulate the emotions in a child's brain. So whatever team you're on, you're going to be playing as a spirit. And the game that I played, well, I'll say the first game that I played, my team was Bliss, and I played as Empathy. And my partner, Matthew, played as Love. And then we were competing against Malice and Anxiety. And there are all these different player boards that you could play, different spirits you can play when you're playing the game. But I don't know, Empathy just called to me. And we were playing the really cool deluxe Kickstarter version. So there were painted minis. And let me just say, like, the art in this game and those minis, like, it's just so fantastic. Like, really, really cool. Really, really cool art. And everything in this game is extremely thematic. And, you know, Mind Clash Games has a reputation for making these, like, heavy thematic games. And this is one I feel like I had heard, like, mixed thoughts on. And I had always been wanting to play, but I was almost a little intimidated to play it. But as Matthew was teaching the game, and it was excellent teach, I'm sitting there like, okay, where's the crazy complexity coming? You know, I was just ready for it. I was like, he would explain something. I'm like, okay, that's straightforward. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. So cool. Then we started the game. So I think in my head, I built it up that it was going to be this like crazy complicated game, and it really isn't. Like there are definitely a lot of icons to kind of get used to, but like ultimately you have public objectives, you have these cards that are out, and each team has a deck of private objectives, and this game is all about area control, positioning yourself to score the objectives, and trying to trigger scoring when it's optimal for you. So on the main board, one of the things that I think is the most confusing thing to kind of grasp is there are kind of like 2 different tiers of area control. Like you have these realms that score, and then there are also like frontiers. But it just kind of depends on what the objective is, because some objectives might be like control more realms than your opponent. Like that's very straightforward. Control more frontiers than your opponent. That's very straightforward. Have more emotion cards than your opponent in realms or whatever. Like, so everything kind of just clicked and made sense. Also, like in the center of the board, you have this kind of rotating thing. Everything has thematic names. I'm not going to remember everything right now, but you have these different pools of these purple crystals, which are called willpower. So that's like the main resource that you're going to spend to take actions. And on your turn, you're going to take 3 actions, but at any point during your turn, you can absorb like willpower from one of these little pools that are out on the board based on where your character mini is on the board. So when one of these pools empties out, they all start the game with 7 willpower, little purple crystals. When one of them empties out, you pause the game immediately and you trigger scoring. And again, basically you're going to evaluate the public objective card and see who gets it. And then you each have a secret one each round that you're looking at. And then you'll see if you get those. In the center of the board, the way scoring works is, let's say my team scored the public objective and we scored our private objective. We're going to get to put a chunky piece out. You're like building this like tower. I forget what it's called thematically, but you're building a tower. So we would put a chunky piece of ours, and maybe you just scored your team Gloom over there, Steven. You guys just scored your private objective. So you'll still get to put one piece out, but you'll put the smaller piece out. So every time scoring happens, we're going to evaluate those. And then by the end of the game, which is triggered by somebody having to put their cap on this tower, the way scoring works is if all of your chunky pieces that are on there are worth 5 points, all of your like single level pieces are worth 3 points. And then there are some other things you can do throughout the game to get additional point. There are things called intentions, and everything is very thematic, but you have each player will have their own deck of these emotion cards, and you're playing emotion cards on the board. And when you play an emotion card, you have to put an essence bead on them, and that's going to tell you like how much influence you have towards area control. But you can, like, one of the actions is you can kind of intensify that emotion and make it count more towards the area control scoring. But it's very tactical, and it's team based too, which I love. You're talking about Quartermaster General. Like, this was so fun. Like, just trying to like work with your teammate, because you're allowed to like show each other your cards, and you're like, okay, if we do this thing, and then I move there and then do this, and then I absorb energy, we'll clear out that bowl, and then we'll be ahead of them to score the public objective. So you're really trying to like time out when to trigger scoring. And it's this constant push and pull, because after that scoring, now you have a different public objective, and you could see what's coming. So you should be kind of planning ahead so that you're ready to hopefully try to score the next one. But the other thing I loved about it is our game took like 2.5 hours. Like, you know, you think of some like beastie games and you're like, oh, this is gonna be like 3-4 hours, maybe more. And no, it can be really quick, because the players are driving the scoring and when scoring happens. And the more that scoring happens, the faster the game will end. But I think it was about 2 turns in, I was just like, I love this game. Like, this is so well done. Like, all the emotion cards, everything, like the names of the realms, it's so thematic. It's so gorgeous. I absolutely I love it. So I really look forward to playing this more. I know you can play it with 2 players. You could play with 3 players, and there's like an expansion. I think it came with the Kickstarter. It's called like Balance. So if you play with 3 players, you have one person that's Bliss, one person that's Gloom, and then one person that's Balance. And there's this like 3-way struggle. But yeah,
I was going to ask, how does it play with like an odd number of players?
No clue. No,
good answer.
Yeah, I have no idea. But like, even if I only ever played this as a 2v2 like team game, I had a blast. I tried to play it a second time while I was there. Two failed attempts with the same group. It was just, there are too many distractions and, you know, timing things. But the cool thing was, we did start it. Like, I started a game with the second group, and on the first turn, I went first. Then someone from Gloom went, and then my partner went, and we were able to trigger scoring on her first turn. And it was just like, it's just so satisfying to like, you feel so smart. Like, oh, if we do this, then, you know, you have to think through like your turn. Like, I have to be able to do this so that I get the extra willpower first, and then I'm able to do a double move. And yeah, I didn't even go into like the actions, but there are some actions on the board you can take from anywhere. There are actions on your own player board that you can do to let you move and play cards and do other fun stuff. But there's some really good player aids out on BGG. Like, Nathan Morse has a really good one. They're also like really good player aids
Wow.
included in the game. So it's like you don't need to know every icon. Just keep your sheet handy and it clicks eventually. And like I said, I was always looking for like, okay, when is this going to get like overly complicated? And
And it
it
never did.
never did. It never did. I was
Great.
like, you know, again, I have a higher palette or a different palette than a lot of people for heavy games. So some things that I don't think are that complex might be really complex to other people. It's like my spice tolerance, you know. I put so much black pepper on stuff that like when somebody's like, "Oh, is that spicy?" and I'm like, "No." And then they try it and they're like, "That was really spicy." So it's the same thing with board games. So take it with a grain of salt, but again, anything that's thematic and heavy, I think makes the heavy load lighter because you're just immersed in the theme. And
that's a really interesting way of putting it. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, the heavier the theme, the more immersed you are, the lighter everything else feels around you in the game. I 100%. Right. Well, this, I mean, I've never played it. I've heard of it, but I never played it and I've seen it really. And this theme is about as different.
Yeah.
I'll absolutely play this one with you. I've never heard of a game where you're going to become inside the kid's mind and you're going to be gloomy or you're going to be cheerful.
Happy, yeah.
It's so different and weird and interesting. Yeah. I would absolutely love to check this out.
Yeah, it's a special one. So that is Cerebria, the Inside World.
Interesting. So my last game here, and we made it last for a reason, and we'll get to the last for a reason, is I got a chance to again play one of my favorite games in the hidden movement, one versus many genre. Now my favorite, I guess, in this genre, and that's Letters from Whitechapel. This was released in 2011, designed by Gabriele Mari and Gianluca Santopietro, published by Fantasy Flight Games and many others. It plays 2 to 6 players, it says on the Geek 90 minutes. I wouldn't believe that. It's really like, could be 30, could be 2 hours, another one of those games. You could end this thing pretty quickly, or it's going to go 2 hours and maybe a little bit more, depending on how much analysis you're doing during this. So what is Letters from Whitechapel about? As I mentioned, it's a hidden movement game with one versus many. The one being Jack the Ripper. Yeah, the theme is gory, sure. And guess what? I roleplay Jack very well.
Not surprised.
And very creepy as I do so. The other players are the police, and they are trying to pick up clues to arrest Jack over the course of 4 nights while he commits 5 murders. If Jack can get back to his hideout on each of the 4 nights before being arrested on any night, Jack wins. Otherwise, if he's arrested on any night, the police win. As I mentioned, it's become my number one favorite hidden movement, one versus many game. That used to belong to Fury of Dracula, which is another phenomenal game dripping with theme. So I'm not putting that one down, but that's a bigger game with a lot more rules. The combat is kind of weird in that one. That game's had a new edition where they've streamlined it a bit, but really in this one, it's a fairly simple take. It's sort of like if you've ever played Scotland Yard. It's Scotland Yard on steroids. Scotland Yard, very simple. You move it around, and you got 3 different types of actions, and you only have a certain number you can take of each, and you got to get back to your hideout, or get caught by the police. Sounds similar, but this one you've got more things to do, more ways that the police are moving. The ladies of the evening move around as well sometimes, and Jack commits the murder, and then they all triangulate on where Jack could be. Where was he on the previous nights? I love this. I love the table talk. I love listening to the police as I'm playing Jack. I love playing the police too. It's brilliant in every way, in its execution and in bringing out this kind of creepiness as the police are stalking Jack around, but as Jack is going after to make his next murder, and maybe just he's ignoring the police for a while. He's laying back because he believes that they are buffoons during the game. And yes, I speak with a really bad British accent that all Brits will be very, very, very offended by if they hear me doing it during the game. But and the reason, by the way, right? Why did we bring this game up at last? And that kind of maybe will roll into our final plug, because I used this game in one of the episodes coming up of the Quad.
Yes,
Candice's and my new Board Game Geek video show, premiering this Wednesday,
May 3rd.
So you've got to come and watch us. The link will be on Board Game Geek right there in the announcements area on the page. And of course, it's on the Board Game Geek YouTube channel. And Candice, what again are we doing on the Quad? Tell everybody.
We are going to pick a topic and pick one game each and politely or not politely debate why our pick is better than everyone else's.
So maybe, Candice, I have a great idea. Don't tell me your opinion about this game.
I'm not going to.
Letters of Whitechapel, because as a teaser, everybody can come and listen to episode, I believe that was episode 2 of the Quad.
Yep.
And they can find out why this game is the best game
or not
in the topic.
Or not.
Or maybe not, according to other people on the show. Candice, Matthew McCack was on that episode, and Benita Core. So they can come and listen to that one. So this final game was Letters from Whitechapel, which is an amazing game.
Or not. No, I'm kidding. We'll see. We'll hear my thoughts later. But Steven, this was super fun. I'm really glad we got to finally do an episode together. And, like I said, I always enjoy talking to you, hanging out with you. I wish we lived closer, but we have now a couple games that we need to play together on our list. And I think we need to make sure at least one of them happen every convention. Well, at least BGG Con. I know like Gen Con and other conventions, everybody's so busy, but like BGG Con, we should at least get one game in together. And now we have a new queue going. We hung out at PAX and we played some games together there. Yeah.
Remember that one afternoon? So it's not like we avoid each other at conventions. It's just that sometimes they're crazy, right? We certainly should have done something at the gaming event. But again, there's a lot of people there and it's hectic.
It's
and
hard.
Who's going out for
it's
dinner.
Hard.
And it sometimes becomes hard. But 100%, we're gonna play a couple of games at Board Game Geek. And let's hope we can also get in with the collector's edition that Board Game Geek brings. We'll play War of the Ring on the big blown out edition. That would be great.
Although I don't know if I want to play that version because I don't have it, and then I'm gonna want it.
You can't have that one. But they only made X copies.
Are you giving me a challenge, Steven? Are you giving me a challenge?
Do you know how much that would set you back if you buy that game?
Who said I'll buy it? Like I'll just
steal it from Board Game. No, we don't talk like that.
That is not where I was going with that, but I'll find a way.
She'll find a way.
No, we definitely need to play. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining me today. Pleasure as Candice. Always.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Love speaking to you. Love hanging with you.
Oh, thank you.
It's going to be great working with you on the Quad going forward in the monthly show. So let's make this happen and let's entertain people. And I hope everybody out there has enjoyed this. And keep listening to Candice because she's amazing.
Oh, stop. Thank you.
And then later on, come listen to both of us on the Quad.
Yes. You've been listening to the Board Game Geek podcast, produced and edited by Candice Harris. Special thanks to Matt Fonda for editing and mixing our music. Be sure to visit us on the web at BoardGameGeek.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch under Board Game Geek. You can reach us by email at podcast@BoardGameGeek.com. Thanks for listening and happy gaming!